Wow, golly, that's certainly not what I was expecting. Better get to working on my next video as soon as possible. Damn. You know, being sick really sucks, but you know what it gives us time to do? Watch movies. Especially big, dumb movies you can just kind of turn your brain off for. Now, I'm a big fan of action movies and, obviously, horror, but I also can't help but love a good crossover film. Not the big, expensive, depressing CGI products we get, but a real cross-franchise handshake of pure, earnest energy. I've given it a lot of thought, and I've realized something. Outside of superhero stuff, horror actually might do this the most, and funnily enough, it's almost always a versus movie. Now, I'm a real big fan of what the internet calls battleboarding, which is a niche interest where people analyze the shit out of two fighters to see who would win in a one-on-one duel. There's a lot of terminology in it, and I don't recommend it. It gets really stupid really quickly. I regret knowing what hyperversal means, but all the logic and analysis of battleboarding entirely goes out the window with these movies, and just kind of focuses on making it work for the story. You know, the best way to do who would win matchups. Anyway, I get ahead of myself. I watched or rewatched all of these horror movie versus crossovers, all the ones I could find at least, not including any shitty knockoffs made by the Asylum or anything made for TV or direct-to-video. Those don't count for the purposes of this list. This is all theatrically released stuff. I guess that only leaves a few of these movies from the Wikipedia list. Damn, I thought there was a lot more. At least it felt like it. I don't know if that means I overestimated the volume of these kinds of movies, or if other genre franchises rarely do crossovers like this. I'm not going to do a big review of each of these, or we'd be here all day. And I know if my analytics are anything to go by, that, like me, you're a goddamn zoomer, and to that I say, I hope you have a very nice lunch break. Instead, what I'm going to do is give you a quick rundown. I'm going to do 3 bullet points here. What's the reason the characters are fighting? Does it fit in either, ideally both, franchises in their canon? And, of course, would I recommend watching this, ironically or otherwise? We're just going to come out swinging with what I consider the best one of these, and then we're going to go in just no particular order from there.
Mankind knew that they cannot change society. So instead of reflecting on themselves, they blamed the beasts, heaven, or hell. Duel 1. Let's rock!
This movie might be the perfect climax of each of the franchises involved. The basic hook of this one's essentially as follows. Freddy Krueger, in hell, wants to get back to his dream demoning, but he can't due to the parents of Elm Street having essentially launched a crusade of Freddy erasure and his demise, making sure no one even so much as speaks his name, lest he return to the nightmares of Springwood's youth. Luckily for our favorite power glove-wearing Quit Machine, he finds Jason, also in hell, and decides,
oh yeah, it's all coming together.
He hopes that Jason sparking fear in the people of Springwood will remind them of their fear of Freddy, feeding his power enough to allow for a grand return. Freddy disguises himself as Pamela Voorhees, famously not portrayed by Betsy Palmer here, to convince Jason to come back from the dead once again to wreak havoc on Elm Street. And boy, will he. Now this goes about as well as you'd expect it would. Jason, after getting to just go on a machete and folding bed spree, isn't as easy to control as Freddy thought. Obviously, antics ensue. This movie, funnily enough, is honestly kind of the best bookend to each of these two slasher franchises. Both of their previous final entries involved the characters dying, and Jason Goes to Hell teased this entire conflict a whole 10 years before it would happen. If anything, and I know this is going to sound just so basic, this was kind of the Avengers of horror movie schlock in terms of how major it was. It definitely fits into the lore of both and is, by all accounts, 100% canon for each of them. Only one of them gets to go to the future, though. Bummer. Also, I recall hearing or reading somewhere that Pinhead was supposed to show up at the end in an early draft, but eventually got cut from the script. I don't recall where I heard it from or if it's verified to be true, but if it was, we were robbed. Yeah, this one is definitely watchable, even unironically. If you love these characters and their movies, this one's pretty fucking sick. The soundtrack is also the most aggressively 2003 thing ever. A lot of butt rock and nu metal bands I still listen to this very day. Big recommend.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
Ah, Paul W.S. Anderson, you fucking guy. I'm a big Resident Evil fan, so I give him a lot of shit, but I'm also a big Mortal Kombat fan, so he gets a singular point in his favor. I mean, and I guess Event Horizon kind of fucks. Alright, well the scales are still tipped in the negative, though. That being said, Alien vs. Predator, when I was a kid, was actually my first introduction to the Alien franchise. Heresy, I know, but I was just a young lad watching movies with my dad, and while one series had dead-ass horror roots, the other one was more like an action film, with a hint, a spritz if you will, of slasher movie energy. You can guess which one my parents let me watch first. After rewatching this movie, I realized that the setup actually, at the time of production, fit into the canon of all established entries up to that point. Kinda like Freddy vs. Jason, this matchup was teased in previous media, most notably the Xenomorph skull in Predator 2. Prometheus and the films that followed were actually the killer of any canonicity this movie had. Was that a good thing? Well, this movie certainly, it has some cool moments, I guess? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna start positive. Here's something. Suit acting, movie sets, animatronics, a lot of this shit was practical as hell. I know this feels weird to say about fucking Alien vs. Predator of all things, but some of the shit in this movie has a lot more soul than modern green screen CGI blockbuster messes. It's somehow kind of charming. That being said, that's where my compliments end and the complaints begin. The beginning of this is so fucking slow, and a majority of kills are off-screen. Did I mention this movie is PG-13? The movie takes just about 50 minutes for a xenomorph and predator to actually appear in the same shot. It takes way too long to deliver on this premise, and it does so very flatly when it finally remembers the real stars of the show. The setup for this one is that Wayland, minus the Yutani, goes to investigate an underground pyramid with a team of scientists. They discover that the Yautja have come back after 100 years to do a sort of centennial xenomorph hunt. The Yautja have a queen cryogenically frozen, only to be thawed out to lay more eggs on willing human sacrifices. Kinda like with Freddy vs. Jason, one half of our matchup has the other in some sort of control, but then antics ensue that lead them to blows. The premise is fine, that's not the part I have a problem with, but the actual meat and potatoes of this story is very much not fine. There are also tons of noticeably stock sound effects, including a lot of overused instances of a single stock lion roar for the Yautja. The sound design in this movie is overall just very bland in my opinion. Overall, no, I don't recommend this one. Maybe look up a fight scene compilation on YouTube, but I mean, honestly, that's not even as good as you might think it would be. I'm also honestly surprised that Mila Jovovich isn't in this, but, you know, good job, Paul. I know that took restraint. Though this movie is overall not very good, I do like one more thing. The end of this movie had, at the time, a pretty fucking insane tease for the next movie, and they didn't keep you hostage till the credits finished to show it. I'm not going to talk about Alien vs. Predator Requiem, I just wanted to mention that. But just know that it also isn't good, even with the Pred-Alien involved, just no. And as far as the main AVP goes, just to reiterate, this is 100% not as good as I remember from my childhood. Yep. Americans aren't having all the fun here. Our friends overseas also got in on it with a showdown of their two most famous ghost ladies, Sadako from Ringu and Kayako from Ju-on the Grudge. Now, before I get started on this one, I want to let you know that this movie is listed as a horror comedy on Wikipedia. Just hang on to that for now. You know, just put that in your back pocket. Alright, editing me here. While writing this script, I went to rewatch this one again. You know, refresh my memory on it, and, yeah, it's fucking gone. Like, Shudder doesn't have it anymore. It was a Shudder exclusive. It's fucking gone now. I don't know when this happened, but it was just straight up removed, so, I'm just going to get to bullet point 3, just get that out of the way early. I would recommend watching this one in an ironic sense, you know, if they had it, but as of the recording of this video, I don't even know where the fuck you'd stream it. Looping back to bullet point 1, the setup for this one is that a couple of college students buy a VHS player and the cursed videotape happens to be inside. Naturally, they watch it and one of them gets the curse, but the kicker this time is that Sadako is way more impatient these days, because now the curse only lasts 2 days instead of 7. Trying to get rid of the curse, they go to find all sorts of wacky characters, like a psychic who tells them that the only way to get rid of the curse is to find another spirit, in this case being Kayako, so that she and Sadako can kill each other. I was gonna leave it at that, but since you probably can't watch it, I'm gonna reveal the absolute fuckery that happens. So the idea of pitting the two against each other fucking fails miserably, and the two spirits do a sort of DBZ fusion to become, I shit you not, a brand new being called Sadakaya, combining elements of both of their designs, movements, and noises. It's like if someone took fan art and made it into a real thing. They even do a version of the cursed tape in the new fusion designed character, which I think is pretty cool. As far as any sort of canonicity is concerned, I'm just gonna say, just don't think about it too hard. This is kind of just doing its own thing. Now you might be saying, hey, he's already gone over the 3 movies from the thumbnail, but there's still a bit of video left. And there's one that I did forget to mention. The one that started it all, and the first crossover of the first cinematic universe.
Round 1. Fight!
I'm gonna be honest, I really wasn't planning on covering this one. Hell, the characters don't even really fight till the last few minutes, but this is an important one because of the work it does, setting up the idea of big crossovers and cinematic universes that would come in the future. This one actually led to a whole lot of other crossovers happening with Universal's monsters, and I think that's pretty important. The reason these two come to meet at all is that Lawrence Talbot, the Wolfman, is looking for a way to cure his lycanthropy, and thus seeks the notes and records of Dr. Frankenstein for a key. I would recommend this one if you're doing like a sort of Universal Monsters marathon, but it was overall just kind of for me. Black and white old school monster movies do kind of hit differently sometimes though. Might be a good watch for you if the mood is right. I know that going into this, I thought there were a lot more of these, but then again, I don't think enough non-superhero stuff tends to do this kind of thing outside of the horror genre. I'm not exactly saying I want more of these, because I want something fresh and original instead of just franchise repetition. But if a good story's there, you bet I'd be there opening night to check out whatever the next one of these matchups happens to be. Let me know in the comments if there's any matchups you want a movie being made for. This one ended up being a lot shorter than I expected, and this part is just completely off script. This is more just like end stage bookkeeping here. But first off, I do want to say one thing. All of you, at the time of recording, 106,000+ of you have seen the Unknown video. And to that, I am super duper grateful. I've actually been recommended a couple more killers that people want to hear me talk about in that same kind of format, do like a lore and production deep dive on them. I do plan to do that. I suck at killer for the most part, so I mean, yeah, that's gonna be interesting to record. But I do have one in the pipeline next, and outside of that, I don't really plan to talk much about horror movies. I really want this to be more of a channel that's focused on like horror games in particular. So I do have some more stuff coming out with that in mind. And I'm also working on getting an art tablet so we can do a little something else. That I'm going to kind of just leave as is there. I'm just going to leave you with that. Just keep in your back pocket. Last little bits here for bookkeeping. If you want to keep up with what we're doing, anything that's like in the pipeline or just something that's being worked on or just updates like stream schedules and all that, that's going to be in the community tab. So that's where I'd recommend, like, if you want to see what's up. I don't really have social media. That's where you're going to want to look if you want to see what's up next. Also, we are going to be streaming some more, twitch.tv/terrorallthetime. If you want to check those out, I will put stream schedules in the community tab once that's all ready. And from there, I mean, just if you want to hit that like button and subscribe button, that would help out a ton. Comment, share with your horror-loving friends. Anything like that helps out. Yeah, and with that, I mean, I'm working on more stuff. I promise I won't take another, like, month and a half to upload. So yeah, stay tuned if you want to check that out. And I will see you all next time.